Sheffield band Bring Me the Horizon have definitely been one of the biggest metal bands of the past 10 years or so to come out of Sheffield, but not only just Sheffield, but the UK at large really. They really quickly managed to gain traction across the globe even. They are pretty well recognised in many countries around the world, and even the label Metal isn't really fully direct towards Bring Me the Horizon, because in a lot of ways they've kind of branched out of that a little bit. And once you get to albums like Sempiternal, that same band that was doing like the deathcore stuff in the late 2000s is pretty much not apparent. There were even naysayers claiming that they sold out at that point because they were honestly getting tracks on Radio 1 and even charting minor chart hits with tracks like Sleepwalking, I remember. But I definitely remember hearing them on like mainstream radio channels, which kind of shows that they really weren't that same band from the early days of their career. I never really minded it though. I mean, as long as a band is, you know, keeping true to themselves and making good music, I don't really think it matters if they sell out or whatever, because their tracks that they were making in that era were pretty good. But I think they started to lose me after that though, with subsequent releases. Even the album Ammo, which I didn't really like at all, but I saw quite a few people say that it was one of their best releases, but I just couldn't get with it. So here we are with a new EP, and I've got to say, it's quite the improvement for me. It's much cleaner in the production. It's not as messy with the sort of like electronic fusions. I feel like they start to go a bit ham with that, just kind of threw it out of nowhere and just attempting to see what sticks, and none of it really ever stuck. But this time around, I think they're actually on their way to sort of making a nice little blend of the styles that they're trying to incorporate. Even without that, tracks like Parasite Eve just have really anthemic and just like early 2000s nu metal type choruses that really stick quite well. There are points on this album, or on this EP even, that I'm really reminded of bands like Linkin Park, where they go a bit heavier in the verses maybe, or they have the really like chugging riffs, but then you also have like the accessible vocals to kind of match that on the choruses, and you just get some really, really like, I guess, festival moments here. Like you could totally imagine this being played in a live setting, as cliche as that may be, but you really totally could. Obey might be one of the best examples of this, because I think the chorus here is the best on the whole album. It's so damn good, and every time it hits, I'm just ready to sing along with to it, just like I would have back in my Kerrang days. And even Youngblood, by the way, who I am always pretty vocal about how negative I feel towards Youngblood as an artist, kind of fits here. I mean, the feature's not amazing. It's not like, you know, you desperately needed him on this song, but for what he contributes, I think it's fine. But man, this track is so indebted to Slipknot. Like, I am just totally reminded of like 2003 era Slipknot, thinking of tracks like Duality, for example. Just the way that the chorus progresses and then the guitars and the drums just start to kick in, it just totally reminds me of that. Going back to the features though, because I did just mention Youngblood, I will say that often the features on this EP feel a little kind of thrown in, not really well thought out. Kingslayer is really one of the moments where I'm just thinking, did Baby Metal really need to be included on this track here, like especially on the chorus, because the instrumental itself I think is really good, but I just don't think what their vocals have always been about, the really kind of high-pitched squeaky like chip tune type stuff, like chipmunky type stuff, really works. It just gets a bit grating to me, honestly. I think you could do without it, or at least try and incorporate them in a better way, because this track initially just gives me so much hope with the way that they're like incorporating the electronics. It's like some kind of pendulum raving anthem is about to kick in, and once you kind of get to the chorus later on, it just feels like a bit of a mismatch. But I just kind of listen to the song and want them to embrace it a bit more, like go for this kind of like pendulum type thing, because I think they'd really kill it if they went all out with like the raving bangers. Lyrically, I think at points you're getting similar stuff to what you've always got, and tracks like Teardrops are a little corny with the lyrics. you know, running out of teardrops. The emptiness is heavier than you think. It really is like classic emo pop punk type stuff. That's just a little on the verge of whiny. Even some modern type stuff like 21 Pilots, or even like the emo rap type stuff that's been getting huge. It's sort of similar to that, but it's thankful, like I'm thankful that the track itself sounds really good. I mean, Ollie really kills it again on the chorus. He's really killing it on a lot of these choruses actually. He's really upped his game, especially compared to the last album. I just feel like there's such a huge improvement in that regard. Once again, with the feature on 1x1 or 1x1, it's definitely the weakest aspect of the track, because I think again, like, it really is going so well, but then you get these like Sleeping with Sirens type vocals or Pierce the Veil type vocals coming through. I could never really see why when I was younger I liked that type of stuff, that kind of like boyish, high-pitched vocals that came through in those metalcore songs. Like, I used to like it, but these days I'm just dumbfounded as to why I ever liked it. So hearing it here in my adult years, I'm just really turned off by it. But again, even with like the melodramatic lyrics that come through, which are probably even more melodramatic than Teardrops actually, it still sounds really well produced, and the performances from everyone on this track is really top notch. It ends up being Amy Lee that's the most well thought out and tactical feature, because you close out with this ballad type track, which I wasn't expecting, honestly. I didn't think the EP would end on a track like this, but you know, it makes sense. I mean, Ollie kind of strips down his vocals a little bit more. Amy Lee brings in her really, really strong vocals that she's always been really good at, just like those kind of like almost opera type vocals, but they're not quite on that level. I mean, you've really heard how she can belt it out on tracks like My Immortal with Evanescence all those years ago, and yeah, she really fits this type of mood here. It's quite like dark wavy, it's a bit you know, chilling, you know, it works. Yeah, overall, I think they're on the right path here. I think this is a good EP. I think it could have been better though. Just take away the features. If they're gonna do an album next year, I would like to see less features. Even on Ammo, there were features like Grimes, who I just think just didn't fit at all. And here again, you just got these random features coming in, and they're just not working for me personally. So that's what I want to see with an album, but I think generally people will probably like this EP a lot more than some of their previous stuff. Maybe see where they can go with those electronic fusions too, if they can take it a bit further, or you know, maybe they just completely ditch that idea altogether, and that could work too. But I think for an EP here, this is pretty good. So thank you for watching my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you agree with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely subscribe, that would be great. Have a good day and goodbye.